I used to think that study techniques were just a fancy way of saying sit down and stare at a textbook until your brain feels like mush. I remember so many nights of flipping through pages feeling that creeping sense of panic because nothing seemed to stick. I would watch the clock, the hours ticking by, on, and wonder why all my hard work wasn't translating into results. Maybe you've been there too, lost in a sea of highlighters and flashcards, staring at words that turn into blur, searching for that one magic trick that will make everything just snap into place. The truth is, I didn't need a magic trick. What I needed was a new approach. It wasn't until I started experimenting with different study techniques that things really began to change. I realized that studying didn't have to be a one-size-fits-all struggle. There are so many creative, unexpected ways to learn, ways that made studying less of a chore and more of an adventure. So, if you're tired of the same old methods and ready to discover new strategies that actually work, this video is for you. We are diving into 10 unique study techniques that you probably haven't tried yet, but you absolutely should. From creating a memory palace to mastering the art of mindful study breaks, these hacks are going to help you to shake up your study routine and help you find ways that truly makes the information click. The Feynman technique is one of the most powerful study techniques to help you master any subject, no matter how complex. It's named after the physicist Richard Feynman, and this study hack involves explaining a concept in the simplest possible terms, as if you're teaching a child or somebody with absolutely no background knowledge. The goal is to make sure that you really understand the material and not just memorize it. How to use the Feynman technique. First, you choose a concept, so start by selecting the concept or topic that you need to learn. Write it down at the top of a blank piece of paper. Next, explain it simply. Write down an explanation of the concept in your own words as if you were teaching it to somebody with absolutely no prior knowledge. Think a 5-year-old. Focus on breaking it down into simple, easy to understand language. If you find yourself using a lot of jargon or complex terms, this shows where your understanding might be a little bit shaky. If you can't put something into your own words, then it shows that you are relying on the knowledge that you've memorized to explain it. Now identify your gaps in understanding. As you write, you might notice sections where you struggle to explain clearly or stumble over certain parts. These are the gaps in your knowledge. So go back to your study materials, review the concept, and fill in these gaps. Finally, simplify and refine. Repeat this process until you can explain this topic clearly and concisely without referring to your notes at all. Use analogies or examples to make the explanation even more accessible. So why does this technique work? This study strategy forces you to engage deeply in the material, transforming passive reading into active learning. By attempting to teach the concept, you're pushing yourself to think critically about the information and uncovering any weak spots in your understanding. It's a great way to ensure that you actually grasp the material, making it easier to remember and apply during exam time. To get even more out of this study hack, try recording yourself explaining the topic and then play it back to see if it's clear and you can follow it. If it's clear, concise, and understandable, then you know you're on the right track. You could also practice explaining the topic to a friend or a study partner who can then ask you questions to challenge your understanding further. By incorporating the Feynman technique into your study strategies, you'll gain a deeper understanding of even the most challenging topics, and that can boost your confidence and even your exam performance. If you've been sticking to one subject or topic during your study sections, it's really time to shake it up with interleaved practice. This study technique involves mixing different topics or subjects within a single study session instead of focusing on just one. Unlike traditional block studying, where you concentrate on a single subject for an extended period, interleaved practice helps your brain differentiate between concepts, making it easier to remember and apply them later. So how do you use it? Begin by selecting about 2 to 4 different topics or subjects you need to study. Make sure they're different enough to provide variety, but still related to your overall learning goals. Next, create a rotating schedule. So think of bouncing between new material and old material within the same course, or even picking different courses that are slightly related, like chemistry and physics. Next, create a rotating schedule. So divide your study time into shorter intervals, like 20 to 30 minutes, and assign each interval a different topic or subject. So for the first half hour, you can review biology notes on cell structure. For the next half hour, you can practice calculus problems that focus on integration. Next, for the next half hour, you can read a chapter of history about maybe the Renaissance period. And finally, for the last 30 minutes, you can complete English literature analysis on a selected poem. Now, repeat and rotate. Continue rotating these topics for the duration of your study session. This variety forces your brain to consistently switch gears, enhancing your ability to recall and apply information in different contexts. So why does this work? Interleaved practice is a practical study strategy because it mimics the real-world application of knowledge, where different concepts and skills are often used together rather than isolation. The study hack also challenges your brain to make connections between these different subjects, and that will help boost your memory retention and comprehension. Plus, switching between topics keeps things fresh and prevents burnout, making these study sessions more engaging. Your brain is not going to start dissociating because it is so bored of forcing itself to think about the same thing for hours on end. So to get the most out of interleave practice, start with topics that are most challenging and less familiar to you. Then move to those that you find easier. This approach helps to build confidence and maintains a sense of progress throughout your study session. You're not struggling with really hard information throughout. You might struggle a little bit in the beginning, but as you go through to information that you're more comfortable with or more knowledgeable about, it will be easier and you'll have more of a sense of accomplishment because you feel like you did more at the end of your study session. And if you want to make interleave practice even easier, you can use our specially designed study planner that includes templates. It helps to plan out study sessions, ensuring that you get the most out of every single minute because you have planned ahead of time. Step into the world of the memory palace. It's a powerful and creative study technique that transforms your mind into an extraordinary tool for recall. It's also known as the method of loci. This study strategy involves visualizing the information in a familiar location, like in your home, or creating mental rooms that can store the details that you need to remember. This is an ancient technique dating back to ancient Greece and Rome, and has been used by memory champions and scholars to retain massive amounts of information. So how do you use it? First, you have to choose your palace. Start by selecting a place you know well, like your home or a childhood neighborhood, or even your favorite route that you walk regularly. The key is to pick a location where you can easily visualize every corner of the room in detail. Identify key points. So break down the information you need to remember into key points or chunks. This could be formulas, definitions, dates, or any piece of knowledge that you want to commit to memory. So place the information along a path. Visualize yourself walking through your chosen location, and as you move through each area, place one of the pieces of information in a specific spot. So for example, if you imagine your living room, as you enter, you might place a historical date on the coffee table, and then a math formula on the sofa, and vocabulary word on the bookshelf. Make these images as vivid and memorable as possible. Add sounds, colors, or even emotions and smells that can really make them stand out. So now practice walking through your memory palace. Once you've placed all of the pieces of information mentally, walk through your memory palace to reinforce these associations. As you move through the room, recall each piece of information you've placed along the way. The more you practice and repeat this tour around the room, the easier it will be to remember the details. So why does this even work? The study technique taps into your brain's natural spatial memory, which is incredibly powerful. By linking the information to familiar locations, you create strong mental associations, making it easier to retrieve the information when you need it. It's an excellent study hack for memorizing lists or sequences and complex data that might otherwise be hard to remember. And don't be afraid to be creative. The more bizarre and vivid the mental images you create, the better. Imagine in oversized objects in unusual colors, or even outrageous scenarios happening in your familiar locations. These quirks make the information even more memorable because of their absurdity, ensuring it sticks in your mind even longer. The Cornell note-taking system is a tried and true method for organizing notes, but it doesn't have to be all black and white. By adding color coding, doodles, and mind maps, you can transform this classic study technique into a vibrant and engaging study tool. This twist not only makes your notes more visually appealing, but also helps enhance memory retention and recall by tapping into your brain's natural preference for images and color. So, how do you use it? Well, first you set up your page. Start by dividing your paper into the 3 sections, just like traditional Cornell note-taking. The Q column on the left, where you leave a margin of about 2.5 inches on the left-hand side, and this is where you'll jot down keywords, questions, or cues. The note-taking area to the right of that, and this larger right-hand section is for the main notes during the lecture or reading session. And finally, there's a nice big chunk at the bottom, and that's the summary section. Dedicate that bottom section, so about 2 inches, to summarize key points after the session. Next, add color coding. Use different colors to highlight words, important concepts, or even topics. Assign specific colors for various themes, like blue for definition, red for critical points, and greens for examples. This not only makes your notes pop, but also creates visual connections for help with memory recall. Next, integrate doodles and mind maps. So while taking notes, add doodles, icons, or sketches that represent the concepts you're learning. For example, draw a light bulb next to new ideas or a magnifying glass for terms that need further research. In the summary section, you can create a mini mind map that visually links the main points from your notes to reinforce those connections between different ideas. Finally, use different fonts or writing styles. Play with bolds, italics, or underlined text to emphasize important points. This variation in text style also helps draw attention to critical information and makes it easier for you to scan your notes later. So why does this work? Because by adding visual elements like colors, doodles, and mind maps, this study strategy leverages dual coding, the combination of verbal and visual information, which is proven to improve memory retention. This creative spin not only makes note-taking more enjoyable, but also transforms your notes into an active study tool that's really easy to review. Consider using digital note apps like Notability or GoodNotes, which allows you to add colors, images, and diagrams really easily. These notes can make it even simpler to keep your notes organized, searchable, and accessible from anywhere. The Pomodoro technique is a popular study strategy that involves working in focused bursts for 25 minutes, followed by short breaks. But let's kick it up a notch and add a little twist. Instead of using the standard Pomodoro session for general studying, give each session a specific purpose. This study technique encourages you to set mini goals for each 25-minute block, such as mastering a single concept, completing a quiz, or reviewing a particular section of notes. So by giving each session a clear objective or goal, you boost your productivity and keep your study sessions laser focused. So how do you do this? First, define each of your mini goals. Grab that freebie that I mentioned earlier so that you have a Pomodoro planner template, and start by identifying the specific mini goals for each Pomodoro session. Break down your study material into these bite-sized tasks that can be realistically accomplished in 25 minutes. And so here's some ideas that you can get started. For the first Pomodoro, maybe you review and summarize one chapter in your textbook. The second Pomodoro, complete a practice quiz on the topic you just reviewed. Third Pomodoro, create a mind map or diagram to visualize key concepts. Fourth Pomodoro, use flashcards to test your knowledge of the material. So now create your Pomodoro plan. Use that template to map out your study session by scheduling 4 or 5, each with its own unique mini goal. This plan helps you to organize, maintain momentum, and make sure to get the most out of every minute. Next, track your progress using a productivity app or simple timer to keep track of each Pomodoro. As you complete each section, take a short 5-minute break to recharge, then move on to the next mini goal. After completing 4 Pomodoros, make sure you reward yourself with a longer break, about 20 minutes, to step away from your desk, relax, and reset. So why does this work? Focusing on specific mini goals within each Pomodoro session transforms the way you study. This study hack not only maximizes productivity by gamifying your study sessions, but it also makes your sessions more dynamic and engaging. By constantly shifting focus and achieving small wins throughout your study time, you motivate yourself and avoid burnout. Plus, having these clear objectives for each Pomodoro session ensures that every minute is used effectively. To make these sessions even more effective, vary the types of tasks you set as mini goals. So, for example, mix reading with active recall exercises like quizzes or flashcards. Or alternate between written tasks and visual activities like drawing diagrams. This variation keeps your mind sharp and even more engaged because you're not doing the same thing over and over and over again every time you sit down. If you would like, we also have a complete playlist of guided Pomodoro study sessions on our website and our YouTube channel with timers so that they can help you keep track of your mini goals and your progress. Do you ever feel like your notes are missing that extra spark? Well, enter dual coding. Dual coding is a powerful study technique that combines verbal and visual information to enhance memory and understanding. By pairing words with images, diagrams, or other visual elements, you engage both sides of your brain, creating a more dynamic learning experience. This study strategy has been shown to boost comprehension, retention, and recall, making it a must-try for any student looking to up their study game. So how do you use dual coding? First, create mind maps. Start by transforming your notes into a mind map. Begin with a central concept in the middle of the page. Then branch out with subtopics and supporting details. Use different colors, symbols, and drawings to represent each idea, making connections between them visually clear. Next, draw diagrams or infographics. When studying processes, cycles, or complex ideas, create diagrams or infographics along with your written notes. For example, if you're learning about the water cycle, draw a simple diagram showing evaporation, condensation, and precipitation, with a brief explanation next to each step. Visualizing the process helps your brain encode the information more deeply. Finally, integrate visuals with notes. So as you take notes, add simple sketches, doodles, or symbols next to key points. For example, draw a small magnifying glass next to a term that needs further research, or use arrows to show cause and effect relationships. You can also use color-coded highlighters to highlight information or emphasize important points, creating a visual hierarchy that helps you prioritize what's most important. This study strategy works by leveraging your brain's natural preference for images. When you combine verbal and visual information, you create two different pathways for storing the same information, making it easier to retrieve later. It's a fantastic study hack for visual learners, but it can also benefit anyone looking to improve their memory comprehension. To make the most of dual coding, mix and match different types of visuals. Try combining mind maps with infographics or diagrams with color-coded notes. This variety keeps your study sessions fresh and helps you make multiple connections to the material, strengthening your overall understanding. Do you ever feel like you're cramming information just to forget it the next day? It's time to try spaced repetition, a study technique designed to help you remember information for the long haul. By reviewing material at increasing intervals over time, you reinforce memory and retain what you've learned more effectively. This study strategy is perfect for committing facts, vocabulary, or key concepts to long-term memory. And the best part? You don't have to do it all on your own. There are digital tools that can make spaced repetition a breeze. Start by choosing your app. Start by selecting an app that uses spaced repetition algorithms like Anki or Quizlet. These apps are designed to track your progress and remind you when it's time to review material. They optimize the timing of each review session based on how well you can remember the context, ensuring that you revisit it just before you're likely to forget it. Next, create or import flashcards. Use the app to create digital flashcards for the material you need to study. Break down complex topics into smaller chunks that are easy to review. You can also import pre-made flashcard sets available on each app. which saves you time and effort, especially for common subjects like languages or science. Next, review at the recommended intervals. Follow the app's prompts to review your flashcards at increasing intervals. Start with frequent reviews like daily or every other day, then gradually space out sessions as you become more confident with the material. This process helps to strengthen your neural pathways and move the information from short-term memory into long-term memory. Spaced repetition takes advantage of the brain's natural forgetting curve by scheduling reviews at just the right time to combat forgetting. This digital tool automates this process so you don't have to worry about remembering when to study what. These apps use advanced algorithms to customize the review schedule based on your performance, maximizing your learning efficiency and helping you retain information longer. Try to mix different types of flashcards, such as text, images, or audio, to engage multiple senses and create stronger memory connections. Also, regularly update your flashcards with new information or tweak them to match your current understanding. The Leitner system is a powerful flashcard study technique that helps you focus on what you don't know rather than wasting time on what you already do. Created by German scientist Sebastian Leitner, this study strategy organizes flashcards into groups based on your confidence level. It's an effective way to use your study time by dedicating more focus to areas that need improvement while reinforcing what you already know. Plus, it adds a bit of gamification to your study sessions, so it's perfect for keeping things interesting. How to use the Leitner system. Create your Leitner box. So to start, you'll need to set up a Leitner box with multiple compartments or sections. You can divide a simple shoebox or a flashcard storage box into 3 to 5 sections, or you can also buy a pre-made Leitner box. Label each section from most difficult to mastered, or number them from about 1 to 5. Next, sort your flashcards. Create or gather a set of flashcards for the material you want to learn. Place all the flashcards in the first section of your Leitner box, labeled Most Difficult. As you pull out each card and try to recall the answer, if you answer correctly, you move it to the next section, so section 2. If you answer incorrectly, it stays in section 1. Next, you review based on difficulty. The key to the Leitner system is frequency. Cards in section 1, so most difficult, should be reviewed daily. Section 2, every 2 days. Section 3, once a week, and so on. The better you know the material, the less often you need to review it. This ensures that you spend most of your time on the cards that you find challenging, while occasionally reinforcing the information you've already mastered. This technique is a type of spaced repetition, but with a twist. It adds a focus to the difficulty level. By spending more time on the concepts you find tricky and less time on the easy ones, you use your study time more efficiently to reinforce knowledge that is needed where it's needed most. It's a great study hack for anyone who wants to improve recall while keeping their study sessions proactive and balanced. You can also use color-coded cards to categorize different subjects or topics. So, green for biology, red for chemistry. Think that kind of idea. You can also add pictures or diagrams on one side for visual learning. This not only makes the study process more engaging, but also helps create stronger memory connections. Have you ever wondered what goes through your professor's mind when they write exam questions? With reverse engineering test questions, you can channel your inner professor to create potential test questions as a study exercise. This technique helps you to think critically about the material, identify key concepts, and better understand how to apply what you've learned. By designing your own questions and answers, you reinforce your understanding and gain insight into what might appear on the exam. So first, you gotta identify the key concepts. Start by reviewing your notes, textbook, or any course materials to pinpoint the most important concepts, terms, or theories. Make a list of these topics, focusing on those that are frequently mentioned in lecture or assigned readings. These are likely candidates for test questions. Create different types of questions, so use a mix of question types to cover the material from multiple angles. You can try multiple choice, Write a question with one correct answer and 3 to 4 plausible distractions. For example, what is the primary function of the mitochondria? Followed by choices like A, protein synthesis, B, energy production, C, DNA replication, and D, cell division. Next, try some short answer. Ask for a brief explanation or definition such as define homeostasis and provide an example. You can also try essay questions. Develop prompts that require more in-depth responses like explain the role of enzymes in digestion and how they affect the metabolic process. Finally, fill in the blank or true and false. These can be quick questions that test specific facts or details. For example, true or false? The heart has 4 chambers. 3. Answer and reflect. After creating your questions, write out the correct answers and explain why each answer is correct. This step ensures that you understand the material deeply enough to explain it clearly and concisely. Review your questions periodically to test yourself or swap with a study buddy for added practice. This study technique not only reinforces your knowledge of the subject matter, but also helps you think like a professor. You learn to anticipate the types of questions that could appear on the test and practice formulating clear, concise answers. This is a great study strategy for building critical thinking skills and preparing to tackle any question on exam day. You can also try forming a study group and have each member create a set of questions based on different topics. Then swap out your questions and quiz each other. This will expose you to a wider range of possible questions and help you discover any gaps in your knowledge. So whether you're working alone or in a group, this template can help to guide you into crafting multiple types of questions that are tailored to the course content. It is really easy to start feeling overwhelmed or unfocused during long study sessions. And it might be time to rethink how you spend your breaks. Instead of mindlessly scrolling through social media or grabbing another cup of coffee, try incorporating mindful techniques into your study breaks. This study strategy helps you recharge, reduce stress, and maintain better focus throughout your study session. By practicing mindfulness, you're not only giving your brain a break, but also resetting your mental state for maximum productivity. How to use mindful study breaks. You can first try some deep breathing exercises. One of the simplest ways to practice mindfulness is through deep breathing. Try the 4-7-8 method, where you breathe in deeply for 4 seconds, hold your breath for 7 seconds, then exhale slowly for 8 seconds. Repeat this cycle a few times during your study break to calm your nervous system and improve concentration. You can also take short meditation sessions. Use a mindfulness app or timer to guide you through a 5 or 10-minute meditation session. Find a quiet place or stick in some headphones, close your eyes, and focus on your breath or a calming mantra. This practice can help clear your mind of distractions, allowing you to return to your study session with a fresh perspective. You can also try some mindful walking. If sitting isn't really your thing, try a short mindful walk. Step outside or walk around your home, paying attention to each step and the sensation of your feet touching the ground. Focus on your surroundings, the sights, sounds, smells, without any judgment. This practice grounds you in the present moment, reducing stress and increasing mental clarity. Mindful study breaks help you regulate stress levels and prevent burnout, which is especially important during intense study sessions. Studies have shown that incorporating mindful study techniques can improve focus, memory, and emotional well-being. By pausing for a mindful break, you're more likely to return to your study sessions refreshed, re-energized, and ready to tackle challenging material. Try different mindfulness exercises to see what works best for you. Some people might prefer guided meditation, while others benefit from journaling or mindful stretching. Keep a list of your favorite mindful exercises and rotate through them to keep your breaks varied and effective. Studying doesn't have to feel like a never-ending uphill climb. By mixing up your strategies and trying out these unique techniques, you can make your study sessions more effective, enjoyable, and even a little fun. Remember, it's not about finding one magic solution, but creating a study routine that fits you. Each small step is a win towards mastering your material. And hey, you don't have to figure this all out alone, because we've all been where you are, feeling overwhelmed, and unsure of where to start and wondering how to make this whole studying thing work for you. So that is why I created the free study planner and activity tracker mentioned earlier. It's to help you map out your specific journey, keep track of what's working, and get the most out of your study time. It's got all the tools and templates that you need to start building this perfect study plan today, and it's free. So go ahead, I've thrown the link down in the description to download the planner and take the first step towards a more organized, focused, and successful study routine. You've got this, and I'm cheering for you. I will see you in the next video, and until then, I hope you have an amazing adventure.